Phantom Liberty will be here in almost less than 24 hours. We also got to talk about some of the details around the 2.0 launch, as well as some of the secrets that players are finding. We have comparisons on the path tracing to ray tracing, as well as non-ray tracing, as well as a save breaking and game breaking bug that you'll want to avoid. We got a lot to talk about. What's up, world? Let's jump right back into the review. We're checking out all things Cyberpunk. Let's quickly go over the global release times for Phantom Liberty, as I still saw some confusions in my last video in the comment section. So for the PC version, there will actually be just a normal global release, and we're all going to be receiving the DLC at the exact same time. However, for the consoles, Xbox Series XS and PlayStation 5, they will actually be receiving the DLC on their local time zone at midnight. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, depending on where you actually live in the world, you might actually be receiving the game earlier than the PC player. Now, for example, in California and Los Angeles specifically, if you are actually keeping your time zone the same and not doing any funkery there, then you will actually receive the game around 8 hours later than the PC counterpart in that same area. However, as we know, especially with Xbox, you're able to change your location to usually New Zealand, and this usually allows you to play certain games early, and in this case, this will allow you to play Phantom Liberty 11 hours earlier than the PC player, which is quite a bit of time earlier. We're going to see a lot of stuff on Twitch, as well as YouTube, and spoilers and all that stuff. So if you are wanting to avoid that, I would essentially, over the next 8 or 9 hours, I would start to pulling yourself back from those platforms, as you'll probably start to see spoiler stuff and a lot of stuff that you don't want to come across. It happens with thumbnails and things like that, especially with Xbox and the New Zealand trick. That's going to go around like wildfire, and people are going to be doing that trick like crazy. Yeah, I'm not really sure on this confusing launch. I don't really know why they did the time zone so differently and made the global release on PC but not on Xbox or PlayStation. Seems really odd there, because you don't really buy anything physical, or you're not getting anything physical like a DLC release, but there is just a non-global release time. Maybe it's the way PlayStation and Xbox set things up for download, and they don't really have a server. It's not a multiplayer game. I guess that all makes sense, but yeah, it is kind of odd for me. Now, we did also have that major game-breaking and save-breaking bug. Now, this is mostly just down to visual stuff, but it is very irritating, and it takes up your whole screen. So if you're familiar with the new kind of relic malfunction graphics, I do believe they changed that from release, or at least from what I remember. I think it was a bit different. However, there is like a new relic malfunction glitch, and your game kind of glitches back and forth while the relic is malfunctioning. Well, specifically in the mission Automatic Love, if you select the second dialogue option, you'll actually be stuck with a relic malfunction forever. And this will persist through restarting your game, and it will persist through multiple saves. So you will have to go back to an earlier save, and that way you'll be able to get rid of that effect, and you'll have to select the first dialogue option here. Now, there was actually a fix for this before. If you drank a bunch before the cutscene, basically that effect would overwrite the relic malfunction, and so you would never see it. However, on the current 2.0 patch, the method doesn't actually work anymore, and all the tricks in the book from the old patches have been tried to being applied here, and they don't fix this relic malfunction. This bug has to be very irritating, especially visually and almost like OCD wise. Now, there is actually a mod that you can download that I'll have a link to down below that should supposedly fix this glitch. And it also seems like from comments that people are having this glitch on other conversations as well. So if you do come across this visually annoying bug, there is a fix, and it is updated to 2.0 and should work just fine here. So have this installed, and it should fix your save. Now, unfortunately for console players, yeah, you're just going to have to either reload a save or find an old one or deal with it, which I don't think would be the optimal choice. But moving on, we did have a ton of those 2020 comparisons versus 2023, patch 1.0 to 2.0, 1.6 to 2.0. The differences are pretty quite drastic, especially for some of the effect stuff and tire explosions and car things. It's a lot of really cool visual changes, but a ton of mechanical changes, and the game just feels and looks better overall. Some of the path tracing comparisons are really cool with the ray tracing versus non-ray tracing. Now, I myself don't have a powerful enough card to use ray tracing, but the game already looks really good to me, so I don't necessarily need it. There also is some weird ghosting with ray reconstruction that people are noticing on both the faces and other areas. Now, I will say with DLSS quality, I've actually had some issues there with the kind of ghosting. I didn't notice it as bad on release as I do this time around. Now, for me, it's only happened in certain scenarios. I think Misty's hair was really bad for the ghosting, especially. Basically, when colors coincide together or they're too closely related, I do get a ton of ghosting, and I don't remember it being like that on release. Now I will say, if you do have the GOG version of Cyberpunk, you probably will need to update your DLSS. However, this did not fix the ghosting for me. That's kind of the reason why I was worried about getting the GOG version. For some reason, GOG always gets the short end of the stick with updates. I'm not really sure why, or especially with CDPR owning GOG, why they've always kind of messed up there. But DLSS 3.1.3, I believe, is the version they give you on GOG, and so if you want to go to 3.5, you will need to manually update that. And I'll have the location down below in the description if you want to, as well as the download for DLSS. But essentially, it's under your Cyberpunk directory, and then bin and x64, and it should be there under that directory specifically. Now, we do have some last-minute mentionables here, including if you do loot a weapon and it gets automatically disassembled or dismantled, this is because the weapon is actually broken and it will have a red tag saying it is. These weapons will get automatically dismantled and disassembled. Now, there is an oddity here. We don't know if this is actually how it works, but you can increase the chance of a weapon being broken if you use grenades during a fight. However, this has not been confirmed, and it's actually been opposite confirmed in some cases, so nobody knows really how weapons break or what causes that, or if it's just essentially RNG. But yeah, so if you ever see a weapon with a red tag broken and you loot it and you can't use it and it just automatically disappears, it's because it's automatically getting dismantled or disassembled. Now, another cool thing is if you do find one of the arcade machines, they actually did include Doom Punk 2077. So yeah, you can actually kind of play Doom and Punk, but it's combined, and it's kind of with Arasaka Tower as well as Johnny. It actually looks pretty graphically cool, and especially for what it is, kind of like a Doom mimic game. It seems like they actually put a lot of effort into this, so it might even be worth to try to play and check out and look for. I had no idea about it, so it'll be definitely something that I look for in my playthrough, especially now that I'm actually playing. Now, they did also take the best perk from us, but only jokes. They took the Commando perk, which was you cannot be detected underwater. And yeah, as most of us know, there wasn't really any missions underwater aside from one, maybe two. I don't know if there's any others. And yeah, I don't even think there's a way to be detected underwater or anything like that. There's like no missions that coincide with that. It's probably something that they future planned for that just never removed and they didn't end up getting to. Yeah, it is kind of funny that we had that perk there, so I'm glad they kind of removed it and replaced it with something else. And I do also want to mention that if you haven't bought Cyberpunk yet, if you're kind of waiting for a sale, they are on sale, or the game is on sale on basically every platform. And I mean, really though, GOG, Steam, Epic Games, Xbox, and PlayStation all have it bundled with the actual game on sale. I know I covered it last time with the GOG sale, and it was about $5 cheaper, I believe. However, that isn't too much, but yeah, it was like $55, and now it's $60 on these other platforms. Still a decent sale, and yeah, it's definitely worth it for this game. Now, also, if you are having a hard time getting up to Phantom Liberty, or you're not ready for it, and you just kind of want to play the DLC, there is also that skip campaign option, as we talked about in our last video. Pretty cool there, so if you do want to just jump into this game and do the DLC, there's an option for you there. That should about cover it for this video. If you like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.